what may be turning out to be a make or break moment in the US election campaign. We know that tomorrow morning, 6:30 p.m. IST, Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump in a huge televised debate. We'll be broadcasting that right here on NDTV. Now, Kamala Harris was narrowly ahead in the opinion polls, though there is now a sense that that lead may have plateaued out. So this debate, very, very important. Let's try and take a look at what's at stake. Joining us at this stage, Nish Acharya, former advisor to the Biden administration, Raymond Vickery, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of Commerce, and Puneet Ahluwalia, political and business strategist, and also former Republican candidate for the Lieutenant Governor of Virginia Post. Thank you all very much for being with us. Nish Acharya, let me come to you first. Do you believe that this debate between Trump and Kamala Harris will be a pivotal moment in the battle for the White House?
Yes, I think it's a very important moment for Vice President Harris. She really only has had two opportunities to introduce herself to the American people. The first was the convention, in which she did a great job. It was a sixer, to use the Indian term. And I believe this is the second opportunity where she can talk about everything she's done as vice president, the agenda of the Biden-Harris administration, particularly on clean energy, on safety, security, and she can answer some questions about immigration and security and others that people have. So I think she'll be able to do a really amazing job to introduce herself tonight and hopefully pull ahead in what's a very, very tight race.
Mr. Vickery, polls show that a quarter of voters do not know enough about Kamala Harris in contrast to Donald Trump. Do you believe that this is a key factor that might end up going against Kamala Harris unless she's able to really identify to a larger percentage of American voters?
Well, thanks for having me. I think that it's both a disadvantage in that people don't know her, and this will be a very opportune time for people to get to know her and her policies and whether she is presidential in the way in which she handles herself. I think that it is an opportunity that can't be missed, though. If she stumbles and is not able to keep up with the stream of rapid-fire lies that is the modus operandi of Trump, then that's going to be difficult. I think that what the American people want to see first and foremost is that Kamala Harris is presidential, that she's able to be articulate in a difficult situation, and that the things that Trump has been saying about her being a toy for foreign leaders and so forth are just not true.
Mm-hmm. Puneet Ahluwalia, Kamala Harris, as a former prosecutor, appears to have the background and the training to sort of really make a point on, for example, the felony convictions against Donald Trump. Do you believe that tomorrow might, be a real test of her ability as a former prosecutor to take on Donald Trump on these areas where, let's face it, he is potentially weak?
I disagree, because if you ask the American people, the inflation, the cost of goods, the cost of living, and most importantly, the immigration crisis, that's one of the topmost agenda with the American voters at this point, is safety and security. These are issues which are kitchen table issues which are impacting people. And I think Trump wins hands down on that. Kamala Harris has showed she's the second term for Biden. Apparently, here's a candidate who was not even appointed by the people or elected by the people. She was just anointed by the leadership of the Democratic Party, which is kind of unheard and unseen in our country's history. But we are here today. I think Trump will show his strength on what he can do with the economy because he has a past success on that. Most importantly, the foreign issues. We have got two wars going on, which is a serious crisis in Europe and in the Middle East. At the same time, strong alliance with India. Trump is great supporter of India and trade and business in that great area in the region. Mm-hmm. I think Trump wins hands down. It's more important if he stays focused and disciplined and talks about the issues. He should not go after her.
Puneet, is actually a key issue. Let me put that to Nish. I'll come back to you. Nish, there have been racist and sexist insults by Trump against Harris. Does Trump stand to lose if he has another outburst on stage?
Well, I think Trump stands to lose when he talks about his policies more than anything else. I don't want to get into the personal insults. I think people know that he passed the largest tax cut for the rich. People know that he did not handle the COVID crisis very well at all. And so once reminded by Vice President Harris about the process by which most Americans were vaccinated, the last funding that was provided to get out of COVID, and then all the important legislation around infrastructure afterwards, I think that will remind people what happened in the Trump administration before COVID. I don't think there needs to be any negativity or name calling, in the way that the other side has been doing. I think the vice president can stand on her record and what the situation that they inherited from a policy perspective and what they've done since that time. And I think that argument wins this election.
Puneet, you want to add anything to that? My initial question, the way Trump behaves, is that something that might impact the outcome of tomorrow's debate?
It's a concern to anyone and everyone, because what they want to discuss about is the issues that impact the people, as I said earlier. And most importantly, when he talks about COVID, he basically ushered us out of COVID and we didn't have a major worldwide recession. We had the Abraham Accord. We were talking to North Korea. Look at the mess what Biden administration has created. He's one of the most unpopular president, and Kamala Harris is his vice president, and she's basically a shoo-in for Biden. So it's the same presidency which is going to go into the second term, only with Kamala Harris being there. So I think there's a major problem on the Democratic side. Most importantly is Trump has to just stay focused and talk about issues that are impacting people. Immigration being one of the most serious issues that concern us all, with safety, security, and most importantly, inflation and cost of goods. And economy is a big concern. And these are issues which are going to win the Republicans back into leadership and good governance.
Mr. Vikri, Trump and the Republicans seem to be arguing that Kamala Harris is too liberal for the country, Obama plus plus in a sense. But I also get the sense that perhaps Trump is trying to be more centrist than we've seen in the past, and perhaps it's in Kamala Harris's interest to be seen as being somewhat more centrist instead of being seen as being too liberal. Is that perhaps what both leaders are trying to do? Perhaps come closer to that center position when they seem to be far away from that?
Well, I think it's perfectly obvious that Trump does not know how to campaign against Kamala Harris. What he had in mind was being able to denigrate Joe Biden, who obviously has aged in office, although he's had a terrific record. But he doesn't know what to say about Harris, and so he's trying out different tacks. And of course, the first one was, well, she's a terrible leftist, she's a communist, she's a comrade Kamala, and so forth. That just doesn't work. The fact is that Kamala Harris is very much mainstream, very much in favor of building the economy from the middle class out, as opposed to the Trump trickle-down theory, which hasn't worked. So I think, yes, it's a time when Trump is now saying, well, maybe I'm moderate. Of course, every time he opens his mouth, he tends to put his foot in it. The kinds of outlandish claims that he makes about Hannibal Lecter and releasing people from insane asylums, that he's better looking than Kamala, all of those things. And if he starts doing that again, then he's going to lose in the first 10 minutes of the debate. But overall, I don't think he knows how to campaign, and it is perfectly plain that Kamala Harris is very much in the mainstream. The kind of economic proposals that she has put forward are appealing to people who are having newborns and want the child tax credit, not reenacting the kind of breaks for billionaires that Trump has done. So yes, I think that he's trying to move toward the middle. I think that Kamala Harris has been there for a long time, and I think it's going to be it has been impossible to paint her as some sort of latter-day Mao Zedong or something like that.
All right. Nish, do you see this election, and we're watching this obviously from thousands of kilometers away, so do you see this election potentially come down to tens of thousands of votes in just a few states? The sense we get is it could well be that close.
So I think there's two answers to that question. I think one is that the United States overall is firmly a democratic leading country. I expect Vice President Harris to win the popular vote nationally by 4 to 5 million votes. So nationally, we are a democratic leading country. But the way the Electoral College is set up, it will indeed be just a few thousand votes in several states. Now, the reality is in 2020, it wasn't as close as my Republican friends like to say it was. It was 10, 20, 30,000 votes in Georgia, Arizona, other places. So it was still a solid win by President Biden. And I expect the same this time. But in the context of a country with 300 million people, even 10,000, 15,000 votes is very close. And so it will be a close election. But one needs to remember that that's more about the system in the United States and not about the overall population.
All right, gentlemen, I'd like to thank you all very much for joining us. We may be in different parts of the world, but we'll all be tuning in to what promises to be an incredible debate tomorrow. Thank you very much indeed. But how are Kamala Harris and Donald Trump preparing for that big debate? Just another reminder, 6:30 a.m. Don't forget to tune into NDTV as we broadcast that for you right here on this network. Let's take a look, though, at that preparation.
Now compare what Donald Trump plans to do. He wants to impose what is, in effect, a national sales tax on everyday products and basic necessities that we import from other countries.
They have traded barbs.
Kamala Harris is a radical California liberal who broke the economy, broke the border, and broke the world, frankly.
And attacked each other over policies and other issues. Now, the time has come for a showdown, as the theatrics will culminate into their first presidential debate when the ABC News hosts them for one of the most important nights in the election race. According to reports, the former president has been reviewing policy positions with advisors in the lead-up to the debate. Other reports suggest that Trump has been fine-tuning the theatrics of his performance. He has experience on his side, as he has already been on a presidential debate stage 6 times. His confidence was palpable when he said last week that he's been preparing all his life for this debate. On the other hand, this is Kamala Harris's presidential debate debut, with just a few weeks to prepare for the big event. Harris has spent the past week in a Pennsylvania hotel, going through policy books. To counter Trump's expected theatrics, the Harris team has reportedly built a mock television stage, which is fully fitted with a debate podium and has a proper lighting. According to reports, top advisors are playing the role of Trump, even dressing up like the 78-year-old.
This idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. You don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor and have him decide on.
Traditionally, viewers have focused more on candidates that unnerve their opponents or seem more confident, with policy proposals not playing a big role. When Trump and Harris have a go at each other, America and the rest of the world will be watching closely for signs of confidence. With Vishal Vivek, Bureau Report, NDTV World.